Welcome to Confident AF Live, taking your mindset next level to get next year's results today with me, your host, Brandon Foster. Are you a badass peep with big dreams, ready to turn your unrealistic goals into reality? Confident AF Live is the gateway to enormous new opportunities and unlimited possibilities. The unrealistic can suddenly become realistic for you if you believe it. Are you ready to take your dreams and results to the next level? Then stay tuned as we help crack open the door to new ways of impactful thinking and believing about yourself with mindset practices for badass people like you. Confident AF Live starts right now. Hello, Boo! Super excited for you to join me with another Confident AF podcast episode. Today, we are talking about the power of planning. And we said extra prayers today before doing this episode because learning how to plan has been an amazing learning opportunity for me and a huge new blessing in my life. And there's so many things I want to say. And normally I have a very specific, number of things that I'm going to go through. And this one's going to be a little bit more of like a riff and me just telling you about what I've learned and where I'm going. And I know this is going to bring so much encouragement to so many of you. And let's just have fun today and let's see where this goes. And as always, thank you so much for listening. So thank you so much for being here. And let's just do an extra thank you to Sierra, Jessica, Colton, and Dr. P from Transformation Radio Network, who helped me with this podcast episode and are always striving to support me. I appreciate all of you. So let's talk about planning and our humanness. First of all, let me just say that I have managed 2 6-figure businesses that are growing into 7-figure businesses. Travel business is a $1 million agency, but managing 2 businesses at the same time, where literally not my whole entire schedule is planned out every single week. And travel seems to be booked for myself. Like our clients' travel is different, but my travel, I seem to book it this whole last year. I've seemed to book my travel like 2 weeks in advance for like plane tickets, hotels, whatever. Towards the end of this year, it started to be like a month out, which was way better. The only times this last year that I've planned really far in advance was when my amazing business manager, Laura, was like, we're planning this. Put it on your calendar. And I have to give her a shout out because she's been so gracious, I should say. I am grateful for her being gracious with my lack of planning. And even with this podcast, when I first started doing this, I literally would do 1 podcast a week. And I wouldn't even think about what I was going to do until literally 10 minutes before. And then I realized that there was power in planning ahead and writing out what the next 3 to 4 were going to be, and power in planning ahead and blocking off time. So instead of doing just 1 podcast episode where it takes 2 hours every single week, and being intentional and filming like 4 in 2 hours, which by the way, they still air live. Okay. And sometimes, I'm sure at some point I'll probably do like a live one with the Q&A at some point again too, because I really want to do that. But there is something to be said about planning and relaxed receptivity. But let me start with where people always get planning wrong and where they don't give space for God's grace, love, and help, which is really important in your business. You need as much grace in your business as possible. There's no way I could be where I am today without grace and help and the people and just amazing clients, amazing team, amazing everything. So first of all, a lot of people will judge themselves for their lack of planning. They'll judge themselves for being last minute. They'll judge themselves for not knowing what the next move is in their business. They'll judge themselves for not knowing what needs to be improved in their business. Those are all skill sets, like anything else that have to be developed. So judgment is the worst thing you can do, because judgment means you're not allowing love to enter in. Judgment is a separation of love. It blocks love. And you're not accepting where you are. And if you can't accept where you are, you can't change it, because you're trying to resist who you actually are. So the biggest blessing of this last year was me just being like, yeah, I planned last minute. I still get to be successful. Everybody still loves me. Everybody still supports me. Everybody just gives me grace because I am doing the best that I know how can. And my affirmation, one of my core beliefs is I do my best and God does the rest. So like literally, I do my best to plan. My best right now is like 2 weeks or a month in advance. Everybody loves and supports me to do that. And what happened is, for the end of this year, I was like, I don't like this. Like, I want to plan better with my finances. I want to plan better for all the development and the leadership I'm doing next year. I want to know when I'm going to be out of town. That way I can, already have my calendar set. So I know what needs to be blocked off, because it affects my coaching clients. It affects my one-on-one clients. It affects my team. My incredible business manager that I just mentioned, Laura, really don't want us both be traveling at the same time if we can avoid it, or unless we're doing our team meeting together wherever we're traveling, which is the beauty of having an entrepreneurial business where you can, grow it, develop it, and work wherever you are. You can do that while you travel. But there was just a lot of pieces that felt like they needed to shift, they needed to change. But the point is I wouldn't have been able to be successful as much as I was this last year and before that if I didn't give myself permission just to be who I was and let God's grace and love flow and show me slowly and develop me slowly into being a better version of myself. So naturally, what started to happen was I just didn't like some of the things. And I was like, I just don't like some of these things. Like, this can be better. This can be easier. This can be easier for everybody. And I just didn't like some of the things. And so naturally, it's kind of like the food you used to eat all the time. Sometimes you'll have like a taste bud shift and you're like, I actually don't like that anymore. I want something else. I noticed that happens too with things that maybe you didn't taste well before, and now they taste good. So planning didn't feel like really good to me because I felt like I was being constricted. I felt like I was being handcuffed, and I didn't want people to dictate my schedule, and I didn't want to not have flexibility. Like, there's a lot of reasons why I didn't like the planning process and didn't like that aspect. And recently I've realized that no, like, I feel like if I plan better, I can have better results and I can be better prepared before I do things. That's also with my course launches and my promo cycles for my mastermind, Born to Slay, that I love. And my favorite digital courses, FYS, Love Yourself, Love Your Life, Love Your Business, Tuning into Love, like all those pieces. I know when I have an idea of when they're all going to relaunch next year, be open to the people. I just have more clarity on those things. And so it's exciting because having clarity on planning allows you to prepare your heart, prepare your mind more. And here was the big shift for me. Here was the big shift is I love the fact that whenever I ask God for help or wisdom or like a last minute thing, he always delivered. And I started to have this weird warped belief that God only has the answers right now, like in the moment or like within 2 weeks or 3 weeks time. And then I realized how silly that was. And I was like, wait a second, God created the whole entire universe. I'm pretty sure he can give me the answers I need for 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years down the road. And that was a big epiphany for me that created this amazing shift. And so I was like, okay, cool. If God can plan everything, it's like Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord God, plans not to harm you, but to prosper you, to give you hope in the future. That's a Bible verse that has stayed with me. I mean, I picked that out for my sister's class when I was the junior treasurer in our private Christian high school. and we had to pick a Bible verse for the graduating seniors. Like I picked that, like, and then my mom sent me a big picture of that verse to give to me one year. Like that has always been something that's resonated with me. And I guess in terms of planning, I've really started to like anchor into that idea and what that actually really, really means in a really new and beautiful way. And so basically what I do now as I'm planning for the next year is I realize that there's 3 blessings when you plan ahead. Number 1, it allows you to be more intentional in your actions and more intentional with your questions that you give God to get better answers in the co-creation process. That's the first thing. The second thing is if you're planning things in your business out ahead, you can see potential roadblocks and challenges in advance easier than when you're doing it on the fly. And number 3 is actually something that I learned from my amazing mastermind Scale, which is run by clients in the community, Landon, Chris, Janine, Justin. And that is this idea that you want to do fire prevention, not putting out the fires. And you can't, it's easier to do that when you are planning inside of your business. So I've really been, those are the 3 big blessings for planning. So how do I want to end this? Because I feel like I've said everything that I want to say about this. Lean into it. That's what I want to say. I want to say lean into it. And I will share with you what I've done so far. So far going into 2024, how I have planned things is number 1, the first thing I did is I planned my vacations that I was really excited about and important to me. That was the first thing I did. The second thing that I did was that I planned my own self-development trips because I know that I'm the glass ceiling of my businesses and how I can lead. Like I am the glass ceiling, so I need to develop myself. That was the second thing I did. And then the third thing I did is I planned like industry events or events that I'm going to bless other people's lives with. I have those on my calendar, and I didn't want to be away from home more than twice in a month. Most of the months I'm away only once. But I have some wiggle room to go, a couple more places. So that was very intentional. And then the other thing that I started to ask myself is, how can I grow myself? How can I develop my team? What are the sales goals? What are the impact goals? So the measurable things. And then you can start working on what I love to talk about. Brendan Burchard mentions these needle mover activities. So these are, where is your zone of genius and how can you spend more time in your zone of genius? My zone of genius is mindset, co-creation, encouragement, and confidence, and how that relates to science and how it relates to the Bible. And of course, I have a huge heart for people who have gone through religious trauma or physical or emotional abuse, deep hurt from human beings, and also deep hurt from selves, judging themselves and judgment. So yeah, I think that wraps that up with a really good bow. And remind you all my books coming out, Confident AF, Unleash Your Inner Badass. So follow me at Brandon R. Foster on Instagram, Brandon R. Foster on Facebook. If you want more trainings, I have a private Facebook group called Confident AF Mindset Practices. You can Google that in the Facebook search engine and you can find it, join it. There's live trainings there every single week as well. I love you. Next week, we're talking about gratitude because it's a podcast episode before Thanksgiving. And I am so grateful for all of you for listening to my podcast and supporting my mission to encourage, inspire, and uplift other people to live their most joy-filled and abundant life inside of their business. Have a beautiful day, boo. Bye-bye.
You have been listening to Confident AF Live, taking your mindset next level to get next year's results today with host Brandon Foster on transformationtalkradio.com. Listen or watch live every Wednesday, 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, where I help badasses like you with big dreams learn to take their impact and results next level. turning those unrealistic goals into reality. Confident AF Live is the gateway to enormous new opportunities and unlimited possibilities. For more information, get in touch with me, Brandon, at brandonrfoster.com.